want to take a moment to talk about the concept of optimistic optimism and how it applies to business. Let me ask you a question. Do you have a vision and firm belief in the strategic game plan which you have set forth? Are you firmly planted in the realm of reality? Have you considered an in-depth examination of the hard, the scary, and the uncertain? Looking those factors squarely in the eye and still believing that you'll possess the necessary business and life acumen you need to be successful despite the current reality of any situation that may crop up. Well, if you resonate with that concept, I want you to stick around because, my friends, today we're talking about entrepreneurial optimism while also having a realistic view of what is possible after we consider the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, according to my friend Jackson Calame, he believes that 96% of all businesses fail within the first 10 years. And, my friends, he teaches entrepreneurs and businesses not only how to avoid the pitfalls that so many businesses succumb to, but how to transform themselves into a true leader in their respective markets. He's the host of The Vision Pros, a live podcast which interviews market leaders to discover their vision, challenges, and principles of success. Because, you see, Jackson believes that business is all about relationships, and in order for visionary entrepreneurs to unlock sustainable revenue growth and to expand their legacies, it all starts with becoming a power brand within their own markets. And he joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. If you're ready, my friend, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to learn about your journey in business, my friend. Great to see you, and thanks for a few minutes, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kevin.
Absolutely. So, Jackson, I'm curious to begin our conversation by getting your definition of what it truly means to diversify a business. What do you think it means to diversify a business, my friend?
I think one of the important definitions of diversifying a business would be to protect yourself and your family, right? To create stability, much like a stool, right? A stool that only has one leg is something that's really hard to sit on. When you add a second leg, maybe it's a little bit more stable, but you add that third leg and now you've got a surface that has a good structure underneath it. And when it comes to diversifying a business, the different types of value that you offer individuals creates certainty in the market. It creates reasons for people to come back and work with you on a greater scale. It also entails that you're listening to your customers and seeing what else they need, what else they might want. Diversification is an extremely important component of driving a business success.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. And I know that you teach entrepreneurs how to have vision and be a visionary entrepreneur by unlocking sustainable revenue growth as a way to sort of expand our legacy, my friend, by becoming what you call a power brand, my friend, in their respective markets. So I'm wondering if you can tell me all about that concept and why it makes you so fabulous, my friend.
Absolutely. So the sustainability is something that I wish more youngpreneurs, right, started to think about, started to realize matters. If I go into a networking room and I say, hey, my name is Jackson, I help businesses with sustainable revenue growth, most of the people start to fall asleep, and that's okay. There's always 3 to 5 heads that pop up and they go, what? They want that. They've been at this game a long time. They know that business is hard to create. It's hard to create something stable and sustainable. And I'm looking for the individuals that have the wisdom and depth to want to know that. Now, this power brand concept, we've also turned it into a lot of fun. You can see the superhero on the website. We're not the superhero for the business owners that we work with. The business owners that we work with, they're the superhero. We want to come in like Batman has Alfred the butler. We want to be the butler. We want to be the people behind the scenes who are helping everything come to fruition. That way, the business owner can focus on going and saving the people's lives or helping people while we're taking care of the day-to-day operations that typically bog them down and hold them back from being able to serve people well.
Yeah, now, Jackson, I want to talk about the number 96, my friend. You say that 96% of businesses fail within the first 10 years, and you teach them how to avoid those failures and pitfalls, my friend, by teaching them how to be a true leader in their market, my friend. So let's talk about the keys to avoiding a business failure. What do you think is the key there, my friend?
Oh, I wish I had one key on that.
Well, if you did, you would be a billionaire, right?
Probably. That's from Mark Zuckerberg and Mark Cuban and Richard Branson. So I would say that's one of the keys, Kevin, is paying attention to who has done this multiple times and what are they doing? How do they do this on repeat and continue to drive success over and over? Now, a lot of people don't realize that statistic comes from over 100 years of business growth in America. That hasn't changed. We still continue to fail at that rate. And then there's these 4% of people who we think made it. Well, I'll tell you right now, Kevin, they didn't make it. They're still surviving. They're still just trying to make it too. So what we really want to do, if I want to be successful in life, I've got to go find the best coaches, the best mentors, the best influences on me, and I've also got to be willing to put in my best effort. If I do those things, focus on being my best self, and I focused on surrounding myself with others who are also striving to be their best, well, those are some keys that can help you in life, and hopefully it leads to the business you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Jackson, I'm a huge believer in the power of building relationships. You know, I always tell people that building positive relationships is the heartbeat of any successful business or venture, my friend. So tell me about the importance of building relationships and how we start conversations in business to build sustainable relationships. What are your thoughts there?
Well, I appreciate that topic. I had to learn that the hard way. I had to lose some relationships in order to really come to understand the value of putting my relationships first and figure out that, you know what, if I want to have great relationships, Kevin, I've got to be willing to be a great relationship. I've got to be willing to contribute to that. And I think we all have a desire to have friends and to have a good family, but there's a huge difference. And again, having a desire to have it and having a desire to become that, to become a great family member, to become a great friend. And there was a psychology book I read on the subject that said, if you're not contributing to your relationship in a way that makes you feel exhausted and tired at the end of the day, as though you did a very strong workout, then you're getting weaker in terms of your relationships. If you feel tired because you've given your heart and given your all, then that shows that you're cultivating stronger and stronger relationships. So I'm glad I've learned to start paying more attention to how can I do my best in relation to all the relationships that I want to continue to maintain.
And yeah, and as Jackson, to that point, no matter how hard we work in business, every business is going to face adversity, my friend. So how do you think we can learn from failure in business? And what's your thoughts on the concept of business resilience, my friend? How do you think those two things are interconnected?
Very, very good question. I like the acronym about FAIL, the first attempt in learning, right? If we can take our failures and realize that they're there to help us improve, and everything that happens to us in this life, as hard as it may seem to appreciate the adversities we have, they really do serve for our good. They help us develop. And that means that the resistance that we face, the pressures that we face, the difficulties that we face, all of that adds up to helping us become even better in everything that we're trying to achieve and accomplish in this life. So I would say that if somebody's going through a hard time right now, then of course seek friends and family who can help stabilize you, and don't give up on yourself. In fact, I'd recommend realizing that on the horizon, greater blessings are around the corner. There's lots of opportunities that are ahead, but we don't predict the timeline of when the crops in our life will grow for the theoretical or non-physical seeds that we plant on a daily basis. The law of the harvest, though, will reward us if we continue to plant seeds and cultivate our virtual farms, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive into growth principles and methods, my friend, and resources that you think any business can use to grow and be sustainable and have staying power, my friend. What are some principles you think any business can follow to get that done?
One of my favorites is overlooked in today's business world. It comes from a book called The Effective Executive with Dr. Peter Drucker. And he calls business owners out and executives who don't spend 2 to 3 hours of time together per week. That's a lot of time. I see a lot of businesses trying to get business done within 30-minute meetings. And they're trying to contract and hire people within 30-minute meetings. And what that's not going to lead to depth. That's going to lead to, very unstable relationships and moving too fast. It's not going to create certainty. So I would say find the right people that we need to be spending time with, and then invest more time in building that relationship and building things together and figuring out where are we truly going and what are we truly contributing and doing for these opportunities. If we spend more time with the people who can help us build the visions that we're trying to build and get in the game and guide them, we're going to win more often. And so Google is a great resource, so is YouTube. But like I said, also finding who are the mentors and the team members that you want to be spending more time with, dedicate more time to those relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. And my friend, I'm curious to ask you about your online presence in business. A lot of people are transitioning to the digital space, and you think it's important for entrepreneurs to ask themselves if they're attracting or repelling their desired marketplace, my friend. So why do you think it's important that entrepreneurs ask themselves that question, and how can it lead to a successful business?
That's huge. Kevin, there's so much wisdom in that question. You got two fantastic sides. When I went to work at Video Power Marketing, Jake Larson was already handpicked by the founder of YouTube to represent YouTube ads. We had 70,000 people per month coming to our website, and I had never seen anything like that. And it turned out that the 70,000 people who were coming to our website, they weren't our ideal clients or our target market. None of them. They were all people who wanted to learn how to launch a YouTube channel. And we didn't do that. That wasn't part of what we did. So sometimes the vanity metrics, sometimes diving into how many people can we attract and establishing the digital identity doesn't go exactly how we think it will. But Jake, being the great leader that he is, saw an opportunity to reposition a product for that market, and he stayed focused on the relationships that truly mattered most, the ones that really understood the value of what it was that he did, so he was able to turn a great business out of that. I've seen other people jump into the online world with a mindset of faking it until you make it. I had to fire a client. She had over 500,000 followers, and it turned out she was doing things that I felt were lying to her audience about where she was at and how she was growing. To me, that's not okay. You don't want to build a life around a lie and around a misrepresentation of your reality, because you're gonna come to regret that one day, and it can very well you could very well end up in prison or in jail for doing things like that as well. If we really want to focus on, if we really want advice on how to do the digital identity aspect, again, I would look to somebody who you really look up to, who's very authentic, who doesn't control your direction, but also realize some entities do better or do just fine without a digital identity. Most gas stations, they don't need a digital presence to win. They need gas pumps. They need people who drive cars to what they're doing. So you may or may not benefit from having a digital identity, but I hope those of you who are listening, you launch your digital identities with honesty and authenticity and transparency in mind.
And you talk about the concept of identity, Jackson. In my day job, outside of hosting this podcast, my friend, I talk to businesses about the importance of hiring folks with disabilities. And it's important to me, buddy, because I found out at the age of 9, my friend, that I wouldn't be able to walk for the duration of my life because I was born with cerebral palsy. So the type of cerebral palsy I was born with, I don't have enough oxygen to walk normally. So it's important to me to build a space for people with disabilities have an equal shot at the workplace. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on the competitive advantage creating an inclusive identity can bring to businesses. What are your thoughts there?
I love that, Kevin. I wish I had done more in life to this point to put myself in a position to be an expert on that subject. I really haven't. I need to do more in terms of understanding it. One thing that comes to mind, Kevin, that I'd love your thoughts on too is I heard Zig Ziglar tell a fantastic story of somebody named David Locke. Have you heard that story before?
I have, yeah.
I would love to hear, and maybe not now, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that story and what was shared there, because that story really opened my eyes to different ways of looking at how can I as a parent, my kids don't have cerebral palsy, but they have challenges, they have things they want to accomplish, and it gave a really good pattern of how to show up as a great parent and help your kids do things that seem difficult or impossible to overcome. Do you want to dive into that now, or do you want me to dive right back into your question? Because I'm happy to do either one.
No, we can do a little bit of both. I think when you start talking about creating a space for people with disabilities to be seen, I think it's important to always put them in a position of leadership, or at least have someone within your leadership team who has had experience. And there's a lot of free resources now that allow businesses to get up to speed in terms of education. And I think the biggest thing businesses can do to educate themselves is to seek out the information that they're looking for when it comes to hiring people with special needs. And, I think it's about creating that competitive advantage, because people that run businesses want to solve problems, and the easiest way you can solve a problem is by hiring someone with a disability, because they have to overcome obstacles every day, right? So those are my thoughts.
Wow, that's huge, man. And well, here's what we're not doing in that department, but I think one area where I hope as a leader to guide us. And again, I'd hope you'd be the type of leader that can help us figure that out. We have a program for Latinos who only speak Spanish. to help them learn how to gain work with American companies and to become virtual assistants. And we do a free job training program for them. Most Latinos that I've met in Central and South America, Kevin, they don't even know that LinkedIn exists. They've never listened to a podcast in their life. They don't understand that there's a whole economy that they could contribute to and be hired as a part of. And so we do a lot of work in Central South America and in the rest of world continents as well to get people trained up, to help them understand how to find companies that could hire them. And if we're in a position to contract them as well, then we'll also give them a contract at First Class Business or on the Vision Pros Life team. So how does that relate to your market of individuals who are disabled, or have certain adversities to overcome? I think it, again, what I did was I just took a model of training and personal development and put it into a structured experience, and then started to invite people to come and participate in that. Those who come and participate in that end up having opportunities. And if I wish more than anything we could hire every single person in the world. But as an entrepreneur, there's a process. There's funding that goes into that. There's probably grants I could learn about. So I just need to dive in as a leader and say, you know what, if I want to help tackle this problem, then or really pursue this opportunity, I gotta start learning from leaders like you and figure out what are my next steps to figuring that out.
Yeah, well, just before we move on to the next topic, my friend, I will tell you that there is opportunity available, because when we did a look at the Bureau of Labor and Statistics last year, 7.2% of people with disabilities were unemployed. That's double the amount of people without disabilities, because that number came in at 3.5. So there's certainly the opportunity there, and I think
Absolutely.
by creating the opportunity, you also reduce sort of the training cost that would be to hire a workforce, because people with disabilities want to stay on jobs longer. So it's about creating an opportunity zone for folks with disabilities to flourish. And the last thing I'll tell you, my friend, is that 80% of accommodations for folks with disabilities cost less than $500. So there's certainly an open opportunity there, and I would love to have further conversations with you about it if you're open to it, my friend.
100%, Kevin. 100%. I'd love to learn about it.
Absolutely, my friend. And I'm curious to know about your role as a single dad, my friend. I know you've had experience in that realm, so I'm curious to know, what do you think it means to be an all-star dad, and how can we create an example that our kids want to aspire to, my friend? What are your thoughts there?
Man, another powerful question. I've always, I shouldn't say always, since I was 9 years old, though, I've wanted to be a dad. That's the clearest answer I've ever had in my life. Careers were never clear, but being a dad was always something I've wanted. And, I used to think that there was something I could do, something I could say to be a great father. And in reality, I needed to learn to become my best self. I needed to learn to focus on showing up the right way for myself, for others. And so I know it sounds to some people like a broken record, but really, if I'm willing to be my best in all aspects of my life, then I'm going to get outcomes and results. And I may not understand those, but I've been very blessed. I've got a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 3-year-old. And my 4 kiddos have exceptional relationships with each other. And that's something that I strive really hard to help them understand, is that they'll always have the opportunity to be there for each other, and that their friendship and camaraderie matters most. And I try to stay in a humble position of, if there's, as I'm an entrepreneur, man, I'm alpha, I make things happen. But when I'm dealing with people, I try to help my team, my kids, everybody else realize look, at the end of the day, I'm here to serve. I'm here to try to be my best for those that are in front of me. And that means I need to spend a lot of time listening and making space for what they want and what they want to do and what they think about. So we make family decisions together. We try to balance the process of who needs what and how can we help each other. And I have one rule in my house, and that is the nicest wins. Be the nicest. When you're interacting with each other, please be nice to each other. And that's how we do things. And so far, man, that's probably my favorite area of life is my relationship with my kids.
Well, if we could only adopt that into our body politics, we would really be doing something, my friend.
Yeah, we would. I agree with you.
Absolutely, my friend. And tell me, what do you think it means to be a market leader? And tell me about the CRO experience, my friend. Well, what is that all about? Tell me about it.
Absolutely. So a market leader to me, there's certainly the brand element, being a Nike, right? Being an Airbnb, being a brand that's recognized, the NBA, the NFL, there's these different companies out there and organizations that have, fought to the tops of where they're at. And I think that's just one aspect. We work with market leaders, though, that also want to lead with love. And that's a big distinguishment. There's a lot of great leaders out there, meaning people who have great accolades and who have huge followerships that lead with hate or that lead with, control and driving fear. I think mainstream media does that to a great degree. And that's not the type of leadership that I'm attracted to. I'm looking for market leaders who love the people that they serve, that are truly showing up in the world to help others. While I wouldn't consider somebody, I'm not going to tell somebody they're a market leader if they're not a market leader. I think there's a lot of people out there who want people to acknowledge them as being more important than they actually are from a publicly visible standpoint. That's why we have these interesting PR campaigns where it says, the top 100 businesses. No, it's just the 100 businesses who are willing to pay to be a part of that list. That's not leadership. That's just a trophy that goes on the shelf. So market leadership to me is about being an authentic leader who really does want to improve the market so that everybody continues to win more. In terms of CRO and the ultimate CRO experience, CRO is a term that most business owners aren't even familiar with, and it's conversion rate optimization. That's a fancy way of saying constant improvement, always changing for the better, making things just that much more easy for people to engage with. And in the digital world, conversion rate optimization is about making landing pages better and thank you pages better and helping more people click to opt in. And how can we get more people to do that? Well, we've taken that concept and said, let's not limit it to the digital world. Let's apply conversion rate optimization, the process of change and improvement, to the organization as a whole. How can we help leaders be their best selves? How can we help the C-level better manage their teams and help their teams produce better results? How can we dive into each department, marketing, operations, fulfillment, support, and sales? How can we improve each one of the dynamics that takes place in the physical world and in the digital world? What ends up happening? Well, when both improve, the results for both end up improving too.
Yeah, and Justin, I'm fascinated to get your thoughts on how the saying, many hands make light work in business, have evolved over the years. How do you think that concept has evolved, my friend?
Well, one of the ways it's evolved is AI. AI has certainly changed the game. And another way is these VA relationships that people have. A lot of solopreneurs or people with that mindset, they're hiring these VAs, and that while it's a step in the right direction, a lot of them are doing what I did the first time I hired a VA, and they're committing what I now call virtual abuse. They're hiring people, Kevin, and they're not taking any interest in the relationship. They're treating human beings like a pair of shoes you could buy at Walmart. And they're saying, well, this work wasn't perfect, they didn't come, and they're paying the bare minimum, and they don't take any interest in that person's lives. We need to check ourselves as a modern society and say, you know what? If I'm going to hire a virtual assistant, I need to take interest in that person's well-being, because odds are that assistant is not going to fight for how much they should be making, because they're used to being stuck in a situation where they're fired left and right by entrepreneurs who don't know what they're doing and don't actually know how to lead. That's a tragedy. And then on the AI side, there's an old quote that the pen is mightier than the sword. Well, if the pen is mightier and more powerful than the sword, we just took with AI, we just gave everybody a nuclear weapon in relation to influence. And that is, again, creating a challenge where a lot of people are using that to write books for them, or to create lead magnets for them. And if that's used by people who have an intention of serving and doing good, then that's a good thing. And that will lead to new blessings and new opportunities for everybody. But if somebody is using that tool in order to further push their fake lifestyle out there and deceive the market with what they're capable of doing, then that's a massive problem and creates a challenge, because their followers are not likely going to be willing to do the same acts of deception that they are. And so then you've got followers who can't get results, but you've got people growing businesses with deceptive tactics and manipulative tactics that are causing a chasm of chaos that won't be sustainable, and it will absolutely destroy our economy in degrees that we've never seen before. So we have to, as leaders, step up and say, you know what, the tool's not the problem. It's just like fire, and it's just like water. Fire can be used for good, water can be used for good, but you can also use fire to burn down empires. You can also use water to drown people. We've got to be willing to step up and say, I'm going to use these same resources, but I'm going to use them for good.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jackson, tell me, what do you think it means to be an optimistic realist in business? What do you think that means, my friend?
You know, a lot of I'm Christian, and a lot of Christians I talk to, they feel like the world is falling apart right now and that it's worse than ever. And I don't agree with that. I'm a realist. I see that there's problems in the world, but I also see that 100 years ago, there were far more people, hanging and being killed in the streets. Go back 200 years, even more people were being killed and murdered by their neighbors, or, cultures were clashing at even greater level. There's still countries that experience those travesties to the same degree that our country was 150 years ago. But the optimist realist in me says, you know what? As much darkness as there is in the world, there's also a lot of light. And so I'm not going to focus on the darkness. I'm going to focus on the light. And I'm going to find other people who want to focus on the light. And I'm going to build my life with them. And I'm going to invite people out of the darkness that exists in the world and say, hey, you can come be with us, but just make sure to bring your light. Leave the darkness behind. If you want to belong to our community, if you want to work with us, then we don't want that negativity in our space. So an optimistic realist, from my perspective, is, I'm very optimistic about the future and what I can do for my future. And life is hard, and there will always be challenges and darkness to be aware of. So I don't turn a blind eye to that.
Yeah, and Jackson, as you know, there are many ways that you can be an effective leader in business. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on the concept of effective leadership, but I'm also curious to ask you, how do you think business leaders can work to sort of heal the societal divisions that we have today? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I had to make a transition, Kevin. I had to change from being somebody who accidentally controlled the visions of others. I used to think that, one, my leadership was, me being better than others, or I used to think that I could tell people what to do and that was leadership. And while it's leadership to an extent, it's not very effective. When I shifted gears and realized that everybody on this earth has the power of vision within them, and if I can empower somebody to feel that they are the visionary for their own life and that they are capable and that they are worthy of being confident with moving forward with what they want, then I can empower them to act on their own and to grow on their own without me. They don't even need me in order to win at that point. And that type of leadership is what I gravitate towards these days, is saying, I'm going to again work on being my best self. And I want to help my team members become their best self. How do I do that? Well, by not telling them what to do, by helping them have experiences and inviting them to participate in things and respecting their opinions and supporting them on pursuing their purposes and their passions and their visions. And it's no different whether it's a candidate, whether it's somebody who works with us, whether it's a vendor, whether it's another podcast host like yourself, or a client, an investor. We just try to invite everybody to do your best. Get out there. You know what's best for you. You've got that intuition, and if we can be of assistance, and what we're doing resonates with you so much that you want to belong to it and be part of it, then come and join us. That's everybody's opportunity.
Yeah, and just before I ask you about your podcast and your overall legacy, my friend, you brought up something that piqued my interest. So I'll follow up with this question and ask you about how you think it's important that business owners and entrepreneurs show a sense of empowerment to the people that they lead, while also having the autonomy to control their business. Because if you hire people, it's important to show them that you believe in them, isn't it?
Yes. The two books that have been most helpful for me on that subject are The E-Myth by Michael Gerber and The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. In fact, the 5 dysfunctions concept is so powerful that we went ahead and created a poster with, of course, giving him credit, but with the diagnosis of championship level cultures versus dysfunctional cultures. Those two books are books that I pretty much say if the entrepreneur is not willing to read and understand the values of those books, we have no desire to work with said entities. Those books do such a great job of teaching leaders how to do exactly what you said, empower the people, and appreciate the people, and create a culture where those people can thrive and work together and trust each other enough to really dive into conflict and to commit to basically accomplishing goals that everybody's willing to work towards, which eliminates the bureaucracy of personal agendas. And they do such a phenomenal job in those books of teaching those concepts.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. And I'm going to end with this, my friend, by asking you about the Vision Pros Live podcast and about its mission. And when you look at your own personal and professional life, my friend, how do you want your legacy to be defined?
Man, my legacy, I'm actually not too worried about it anymore, how others define it. I know that if I just live my best life, if I were to die tomorrow, or if I were to die tonight, then, man, I know I laid everything on the table. I know that I did everything that I could to make sure that I maximize this life. And that's how I want to leave this world. If there's a bigger legacy beyond that and other people want to define it, then that's fantastic. Power to them. But I don't worry too much about that. As far as Vision Pros Lives goes, I recommend that anybody who's a visionary leader is looking for great mentors, come check out what we're doing on Vision Pros Live, and you'll notice in the top right corner there's a little button that says Be Our Guest. If you've got a vision to help and serve others, then come be our guest. Kevin, we would love to have you as a guest on the show as well if you haven't already done that. And anybody who's coming in, be prepared. We actually do multiple recording segments with great visionaries where we want to get to know and get to like and get to trust and really feel the power of these visions that people are building. When it's holistic, we love it. We want to dive in. So come and join us.
Well, people do business with people they know, like, and trust, right? So there's a method to the madness, right?
That's right. There's definitely a madness to the method.
Absolutely, my friend. And just very quickly, tell me about your love of music and why it brings you peace in life, my friend. I'm fascinated to know.
Well, thank you. As far as music, why does it bring peace into my life? My mom made me play the piano when I was little, and I'm grateful for that. And then I played trumpet. In 7th grade, I was the first chair trumpet and got to play the solo of Shenandoah. We ended up making second in state as a band. And I mean, it didn't, you'll notice above my guitar there is LeBron James. I'm also a bigger basketball fan than I am of
I see that, yeah.
myself, right? So both those go hand in hand for me. But I love your question. When I was in, again, 7th or 8th grade, I was listening to a rock channel after playing basketball. My mom was driving me home, and my heart rate was going through the roof. I felt awful. And I changed the channel to something country or something oldies, and I noticed that my heart rate began to slow, and I began to feel better. And that was a transition for me from very, very hard rock to look at, wait a second, these songs, they have an emotional pull on the direction of my life. Nowadays, I tend to listen to solo piano on Pandora a lot. I tend to listen to a station called Blessed Be His Name, and I listen to a lot of Ed Sheeran. Those, his whatever comes up on Pandora, I'll listen to. But the power of music has an incredible strength of guiding our emotions and adjusting, influencing how we feel and what we think about. The power of words and those lyrics as well. So my favorite song is by Ed Sheeran, and it's called What Do I Know? And the concept of the song is love can change the world in a moment, but I'm just a musician. What do I know?
Absolutely, my friend. And finally, tell me, if people want to get connected with you, my friend, what's the best way they can do that?
Well, I'm on all the social media platforms. So the social media platform of your choice, feel free to reach out. And of course, on Vision Pros Live, feel free to book an appointment to be one of our guests. I'm one of 5 hosts on our platform, and look forward to meeting all of you based on your desires to want to meet me. It all starts with the want and the desire.
Well, absolutely, my friend. I always tell people that we prioritize the things that are important to us, right?
True.
Absolutely. Absolutely, my friend. Well, I want to thank you for engaging in conversation with me this afternoon, my friend, and I can't wait to return the favor and become a guest on Vision Pros Live, my friend, so we can continue the conversation, okay? I want to thank you for the good work that you're doing, my friend, and I want to thank you for being here. It's most appreciated.
My honor, Kevin. This is fantastic. Way to go, man.